A dark SUV on a quiet country lane, and a phone that shouldn't have left a trace. Together they have pulled this investigation out of the broad sweep of searches and into a hard, testable timeline. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you'll get first-hand updates as investigators verify evidence, follow leads, and explain what each new result means. On May 2nd, 2025, a missing persons call jolted a small Nova Scotia community. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack were reported gone from their rural home in Lansdowne Station. That single report launched an immediate, exhaustive response. Neighbors, volunteers, local search and rescue teams, RCMP officers, drones, and K-9 units scoured the surrounding woods, culverts, and ponds. In the earliest hours, the priority was simple and urgent: find the children alive if possible. Searchers worked in tight grids across pipeline corridors, creek lines, and the mix of fields and dense brush that defines the area. For days and weeks that followed, the visible effort remained large and relentless. Helicopters scanned treetops, thermal imaging helped narrow dark stretches at night, and volunteer lines repeatedly rechecked sections where the ground and weather conditions might have hidden a trace. Yet despite that scale of response, the initial physical picture baffled investigators. The property and immediate surroundings offered no clear footprints that formed a continuous route away from the yard. Search teams did not find obvious signs of a struggle. No independent eyewitness account placed the children leaving the property that night. In many missing child cases, the physical terrain yields a chain. A line of prints, a broken twig, a dropped toy, and that chain provides a route to follow. Here, the absence of such a trail meant that detectives could not rely on a simple follow-the-footprints approach. Instead, the case moved from urgent area sweeps toward a quieter, technical phase focused on documenting, preserving, and testing every scrap of documentary evidence that could anchor time and place. That technical pivot is where the most consequential developments have come into view. Investigators, working through court processes and reviews, have disclosed that surveillance footage captured a dark SUV moving along Gearlock Road at about 11:47 p.m. on the night in question. The clip is not a single, dramatic plate read. It is a motion-activated recording from a private camera that, when viewed in isolation, offers only a shadowed profile. But the significance grew when analysts cross-checked that clip against other cameras in the surrounding corridor. Multiple motion cameras, each with overlapping fields of view, recorded the same vehicle profile passing through, a convergence that provides both temporal precision and geographic placement. In other words, the same vehicle appeared on independent devices at the same minute, creating a verifiable anchor in the timeline where previously there had been only gaps and conjecture. What makes that anchor prosecutable, or at least actionable for investigators, is the careful, methodical way the footage is being handled and analyzed. Forensic video analysis begins with strict preservation. Original files are copied, hashed, and stored so the unaltered master remains intact. Analysts stabilize footage, reduce noise, and enhance frames using protocols designed to avoid artifact introduction. Every change is logged and reversible. Where multiple camera views are available, technicians synchronize them by matching clock metadata and visible reference points in frame. This minute-by-minute synchronization allows detectives to chart a vehicle's movement across space, where it slowed, where it paused, and where it continued on. Those micro-movements can be correlated with physical features on the ground, a shed door, a drainage path, a gravel turnout, which then become priority locations for forensic teams to re-examine. The footage's vehicle profile reportedly matched the make and model associated with someone known to the family, according to investigative sources. That does not equal guilt, nor does it equate to proof of involvement. What it does do is direct investigators to persons and places they need to re-examine with precision. In this case, the same vehicle was later reported on camera near a private shed several kilometers from the home. The shed and its immediate drainage areas were not considered primary search sites in the initial broad sweeps. Now, with synchronized footage placing that vehicle nearby at a relevant time, investigators return to those spots with a different set of tools: targeted forensic excavation, focused K-9 passes, and detailed trace collection under controlled conditions. Parallel to the camera work, Digital forensics produced a second, powerful thread: recover deleted GPS data that aligns with the surveillance timestamps. Modern devices and cloud services leave a mosaic of residual data even after attempts at deletion. Investigators obtained device images through lawful process, and forensic teams used accredited tools to reconstruct fragments from unallocated storage space, app caches, and cloud syncs. The reconstructed GPS coordinates, according to sources close to the case, place the device, tied to an adult person of interest under scrutiny, in the same corridor at roughly the same minute the dark SUV appeared on camera. This convergence of independent data streams, visual confirmation from multiple cameras and device location traces, is the kind of alignment that moves an investigation from speculative to testable. Equally worrying to investigators was the timing of the device activity. The forensic timeline indicates that the device in question was wiped in the period after the disappearance, an action that, while not itself proof of wrongdoing, raises the obvious question of intent to erase possible evidence. Forensic teams can often recover residual logs and metadata even after a wipe, but the act of erasure complicates the evidentiary picture and suggests why investigators pursued urgent court authority to preserve accounts and seize devices before further data could be altered or lost. Law enforcement sources stress that device wiping can have many explanations, from privacy concerns to panic, and each possibility must be carefully tested and corroborated against other traces. Armed with synchronized camera frames and reconstructed location data, investigators expanded targeted searches to the shed, a nearby drainage site, and an access trail in shelved woodland. That focused follow-up involves different operational tactics than early wide sweeps. Technicians document microevidence with forensic photography and scaling. They cast and measure tire and shoe impressions. They collect soil and plant samples for trace analysis, and they take swabs for DNA where appropriate. Any physical sample recovered must be processed with documented chain of custody, photographed in place, bagged in sterile containers, assigned unique identifiers, and sent to accredited labs where technicians run tests and log procedures. Those standards exist because, in later legal stages, defense teams can and will challenge the handling of evidence. Strict adherence to protocol preserves the integrity of findings and the prospects of a prosecutable case. Investigators are also cross-validating the digital and physical records to guard against spoofing or misinterpretation. A GPS coordinate by itself can be imprecise depending on satellite, device model, and environmental conditions. Camera timecodes can drift without synchronization. So analysts match hashes, compare cell tower logs, check cloud server timestamps, and align observable landmarks to ensure that the same point in time is being described across multiple platforms. When 3 or more independent traces point to the same place and minute, the probability that the alignment is coincidental falls dramatically. That is the logic driving the current investigative posture. Converging, validated traces become probable leads. Singular, uncorroborated reports remain useful but lower in priority. Because of the sensitivity of this stage, RCMP spokespeople have been careful in public statements. Detectives have said the work is ongoing and that laboratory results, particularly DNA testing, are awaited. They caution against drawing definitive conclusions until tests are complete and until the full context of the digital findings is evaluated. That caution is both legal and practical. In any investigation, especially one with national attention and intense local emotion, premature public conclusions risk jeopardizing the admissibility of evidence, the safety of witnesses, and the fairness of any subsequent legal process. What does this mean for the trajectory of the case? If forensic testing confirms links between the vehicle footage, the recovered GPS traces, and any subsequent physical evidence from the shed or drainage sites, investigators will have crossed a crucial threshold. They will have a coordinated chain of objective, independently verifiable facts that place a person and a vehicle in proximity to the relevant location at the relevant time. Such confirmation could justify expanded search warrants, further targeted excavations, and, depending on what is found, the laying of criminal charges. If the tests do not confirm those links, detectives will have to reassess and continue pursuing alternative leads with the same methodical rigor. For the public, there are practical things that matter right now. Preserving original files is critical. High-resolution, unedited video files with intact metadata are vastly more useful to investigators than compressed social media clips. If you have footage, store the original and contact investigators rather than uploading it online. Metadata, those invisible timestamps and geotags, can be decisive. If you have recollections, write down precise times and locations before memory fades and pass them to police. And resist amplifying unverified claims on social media. Speculation spreads quickly and can complicate both the investigation and the lives of people who may be innocent of wrongdoing. The human stakes remain the same and remain urgent. 2 small children are still missing, and the community waits for answers. These technical breakthroughs, synchronized surveillance frames and recovered deleted GPS data, narrow the field of action for investigators and create testable hypotheses. That is progress, but it is only the next step in a long, exacting process of corroboration, laboratory verification, and legal action. The RCMP have signaled that a criminal investigation is now a realistic path forward, depending on what the forensic work yields. We will continue to follow verified updates and explain what each new result means for the case. For now, the convergence of camera and device evidence points to someone having been nearby that night, to deliberate actions that followed, and to specific locations investigators must examine closely. Hold space for Lily and Jack, and if you have any original footage or precise recollections, contact the RCMP so investigators can test those pieces against the timeline being built. Meticulous forensics and patient verification, not rumor, are what will bring the answers this community so desperately needs.